Bridges ID. Verifying ID. Clear. Weapons detected. All weapons will be locked until departure. All clear. Welcome, Sam Porter Bridges.
Thank you, Sam. In reclaiming our past, we've uncovered a number of vital clues. Don't worry, I just got back. We have time. When you met with Mama, you experienced a strong antigen-antibody reaction, correct?
There was a BT in the room.
There was, but something else may have been causing it. I've discovered large quantities of chiral matter in Mama as well. Not just the usual kind that collects on our skin or on our suits. It's in all her cells. Cells that are no longer active. The BT you encountered there was special. It was her child, but also her own soul. Somehow, her car and half failed to separate.
This doesn't make sense. Because, the reason it doesn't make sense is because, Mama and Mel were both inseparable. The story told us that they would have, a connection, a nearly telepathic connection, right? But that connection got interference when Mama got pregnant, and so it doesn't make sense that her soul went into the baby, because that is what Hartman just said, that her soul was probably inside of that BT. But it just doesn't make sense. The theory that that just comes up is that the father died in a void out, right? And they used his frozen sperm to produce an egg. And they took an egg from male, and then that fertilized egg got into Mama. But because it was after Death Stranding, after a void out, probably the BT spirit of her father interfered with the birth and basically helped or wanted to help through the baby something. Like, that's where my train of thought ends. But it could be that he interfered or in some sort of way, and that is why that BT child happened. But where the game makes even less sense is when he just said the soul of Mama was inside of the baby, because we dispatched the baby. The baby is now fully in the next world, and we saw, in quotation mark, how Mama's soul went into Mel and reunited there. So all of this soul nonsense now doesn't make any sense, because that would mean that whatever soul was left when with Mama doesn't exist, because it should have went with the baby into the next life, or to the beach. Let's see how they unknot this mess.
They must have remained connected through the umbilical cord. It's the only explanation.
Is that why I didn't get a bruise where she touched me?
Yes, and there's more.
10 seconds to cardiac arrest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I modified the log times. Headquarters will have no record of what we say. Look, a message from Dead Man. It came with the umbilical cord.
Sam, I'm sorry. You deserve to know what you were carrying. But I couldn't risk Die Hardman finding out about the case. So I had no choice but to keep it off the books. You've got to keep this between us. We still don't know if the director can be trusted.
A thing that comes to mind is that Deadman has fed us information, right? But what if Deadman is the great manipulator here? I just always get this thought in these kind of scenes. It wouldn't even matter if there's a 100% case or not. The moment, like this is, I think, the third or fourth time Deadman tells us that he doesn't trust Die Hard. And now it's getting mentioned so much that I become suspicious of Deadman. So now, why will I still trust him? Is because everything he has said, we have seen the info in the world around us. So we could see the base of his arguments or his intel he was getting for us. And or the intel he was feeding us. So, but I will now stay more suspicious of him than before, because this is getting kinda out of hand of how suspicious or paranoid he is about Die Hard. Because he would now need a massive reason. On the other hand, like, no good man carries a skull mask in stories, you know? So it's kind of obvious that he was a suspicious character from the start. But he also has not really given us a reason to be suspicious of him. Like, you don't forget that I do not like Die Hard because he, just as and Deadman, both do not recognize Sam. They both, in the beginning chapters, only used him as a tool, only saw him as a tool, and never recognized him as a living being. And that argument is based around them absolutely ignoring his phobia of being touched, and being even closer and closer, pushing themselves even more into his private sphere. Also, both of them just assumed Sam will help them, even so Sam would continuously tell them no, and he wanted to be left alone. Now, like I said back then, I still don't understand why Sam would be helping. There is an ounce of a possibility that he is still in this for his mother, because, you know, it was his her dying wish. But that is still a gray area. I don't want this talking segment to go on too long. It's probably something I will talk about again at the very end. But yeah, probably will keep things a bit more on the tight end, unless especially what the knowledge is about the first chapters, you know, because we are probably getting one expose after the next one in these next few chapters. So it's probably really good to to not refresh too much on what we already know. But then on the other hand, by doing that, you can also see how much I remember. Because one of the reasons why I'm saying it is to keep it in context to these past events. But this will sound mean, but it's not meant to be mean. But this is a method of making sure every detail cannot get forgotten. But if you do it too often, it will sound disrespectful, because people that listen will think they are stupid, because you don't keep them, because you don't have any respect for their ability to remember things. So, fuck, that is a topic I could talk for an hour about. Probably should. But is this really the time as to why? The short and sweet of it is, I used to be a coach. I had many students. And there's a process I needed to optimize to get info across to my students. So that is what informs me of me repeating certain basic stuff so often, especially in games that are as content rich as story games. You know, it's something I do always with story focused games, and Death Stranding is especially rich in intel and story. So yeah.